How can we keep our peace in the middle of a busy, busy life? If we can't at least make an attempt to do that, then what is our spirituality really doing for us? There are planes overhead. There's a garbage truck driving by right now. There's a train running in the distance. I was with some family members this morning. Kids are going to school. Grown-ups are going to work. There's backup beepers and traffic and all the things that make a busy life. So how do we do it? How do we hang on to that peace that we know is at the core of everything that's good? Well, here's one way to think about it. We keep our peace better when we get to be above the battlefield. When we're in the middle of a battlefield, it's chaos. There's fighting, maybe fighting for your life on some level. There's attack and response and defense and panic. And man, is it busy. It's fight or flight, it's kill or be killed, or at the very least, you better get there on time and you better make sure there's groceries in the fridge and the rent's paid. When we have that presence, that mindfulness in which we're able to be up above the battlefield, and it's from there that we can look down upon it. But if we're looking down on it, we're not in it so much. We have that opportunity to actually quietly really assess the truth of what's going on, but we don't have to be so beset by it, which is why we usually make a better assessment when we're up above the battlefield. It's usually why we can make better decisions about what we are experiencing and seeing there on the battlefield. We get to have that one backward step of remove that lets us see more clearly, choose more carefully, but most of all, make choices from a place in which we have some peace and some sense of safety. Sometimes that's just enough. Just a reminder to say, wait a minute, let me take 1 second to consciously make an effort to sort of rise above the battlefield I'm in at the moment. A moment of quiet. It doesn't take more than an instant. But the possibilities that may afford could turn into something that is literally miraculous. Or at the very least, just peaceful enough to make a really effective choice. All of us know it. We've all had this experience in some way at some point or another. And just speaking it out loud is a way to remind ourselves to maybe try to be in touch with a little bit more. Being above the battlefield like that it's something that takes place in our mind, which means that there's no time and place in which it isn't possible on some level to do it. If we're willing, if we're mindful, if we remember. Because otherwise we're down there in the fray. So it's a particularly meaningful way in which we can be literally mindful. It really gets at the heart of what being mindful means. When in the midst of the chaos, we can still go, wait a minute, let me just take an instant to go inwardly, find that quiet place that puts me above the battlefield for a moment, give it my best shot, and look down upon it from up there. Being above the battlefield is actually a handy, practical, I suppose we could call it a technique or a step. But what it's really doing is connecting us to something that usually takes much more complicated words to describe. What it's really doing is connecting it to the deepest essence of our being. It connects us to the actual non-dual truth within us. It connects us to the truth within us that is, in fact, apart from this four-dimensional time-space. It connects us to that part of us that is unimpugned by that four-dimensional time space that we seem to be in. It allows us to step at least closer to being just a bit outside of it so that we can in fact look upon it from that place of peace that absolute oneness really does afford, that non-dual truth in us affords. And so it's one of those ways in which we could talk about very complicated philosophical concepts about non-duality and about lack of self and the difference between three-dimensional reality and the non-dual truth of illusion. But in the warp and weave of everyday busy life, where there's airplanes overhead and garbage trucks driving by and kids that need to go to school and jobs that need to be done and careers that need to be taken care of and homes that need to be managed, simply stepping up above and stepping into being above the battlefield there for a moment is really just a lovely, simple way of reconnecting for a moment to that deepest fundamental truth and meeting that busy, busy world in front of our noses from that fundamental truth where that peace is actually firm and eternal. And although we may find ways to cover it over, it will never, ever, ever actually be gone, even if we cover it over. It's still there. So the simple act and the simple phrase of taking a moment to rise above the battlefield is just a way of reconnecting with that. And in fullness and peace, I hope this message finds you, especially in those moments where life is the most tumultuous. And with that, I'll look forward to catching you at another point on the trail as we all go walking in spirit. I'll see you soon. Peace be with you, my friends.